thinking, which is better? Is it better to round to the nearest 10? Or is it better to round to the nearest 100? And I told you that there was no real good answer. It kind of depends on what's happening. So what you're going to do is I am going to put you in partners. I have two scenarios. Two scenarios. With your partner, you're going to work on these. So I'm going to explain what that means. The first one says there are 84 people coming to a birthday party. Every party guest gets a cupcake. The baker wants to estimate using rounding to help her decide how many cupcakes to bake for the party. Round it to the nearest 10 and the nearest 100. What are you rounding?
Cupcakes.
Cupcakes. The 84 cupcakes. Round it to the nearest 10. Round it to the nearest 100. Then decide which type of rounding makes sense. I need a sentence. Bryson, get on the light blue carpet, please. Does that make sense? Then you're going to do the same thing with scenario 2. We're going to talk about these when I have most, if not all, groups done. So be ready to share your thoughts. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. First person will pick the spot. Second person will get the papers for both people. All right. So you were tackling this first scenario with your partner. It said there are 84 people coming to a birthday party. That is a lot of people.
Yeah.
Every party guest gets a cupcake. The baker wants to estimate using rounding to help her decide how many cupcakes to bake for the party. Round to the nearest 10 and 100 to decide what type of rounding makes sense. You should have 2 number lines drawn. Zach, you should definitely be paying attention because I know you don't have 2 drawn. 1 for the nearest 10 and 1 for the nearest 100. If you do not have 2 number lines, get 2 number lines. If you need space, do it on the back. All right, if we're going to round 84 to the nearest 10, what are my endpoints? If I'm rounding 84 to the nearest 10, what are my endpoints? I should see almost everybody's hands since most of you finished that first one. Gio? 80 and 90. What's your middle? Lots of hands. What's your middle, Jalen? 85. Where's 84 go? Before 85 or after 85? Madison? Before 85. So you should have written somewhere 84 is about 80. Give me a thumbs up if you got that.
I think 80 is about 84.
No, you gotta go the other way. Bryson, put it on my desk. All right, let's round to the nearest 100. What are going to be my endpoints when I round to the nearest 100? A little tricky to start. Zach, you know what?
100 and first 0.
Yeah, 0 to 100. Because 84 is not more than 100. So it's got to be 0 to 100. What's going to be my midpoint, Tegan? 50. Where's 84 go? Everyone put something in the chair. Huxley, where's 84 going to go?
Like, it's after 50, but it's going to be like in the middle.
All right, like that description. Which means 84 is going to round to 100. So somewhere on your paper, you should have 84 is about 100. So far, so good?
Yes.
Now we have to figure out, okay, which one does it make sense, Zach, for the baker to use? Would it make more sense for her to make 80 cupcakes? Mackenzie, say with me. Or would it make more sense for her to make 100 cupcakes? What do you think? Colby, what do you think?
100, and I have to read for 100.
Okay.
One, because if you did 80, there would not be enough for everyone.
Okay.
And then 100. What if maybe the parents wanted one? You might have to give an extra one or something.
All right. I'm feeling very convinced. Someone tell me, what was Colby's reasons? He said we should round to 100. What did Colby say as to why? Zach, what did Colby say as to why? He gave us 2 reasons.
Because there might not be enough for the parents.
Okay, so if we get 100 cupcakes, we have those extras. What else did Colby say? Madison?
They can have cupcakes.
Sure, we've got a couple of extras. There's one more reason. Colby said it. I heard it. Y'all are missing out on genius. Kinsey? You don't know what he said? You sitting right next to him. Yeah, let's re-say it. How about we listen to the genius that's happening right now? Both of them.
I think you should round it 100 because there might not be enough. Because there will not be enough if you do 80 because 84 people we know are coming. But but another reason is that you should round to 100 because if a parent or one or you might want another one, you have extra.
Okay. What were those reasons? I should see every single person's hand. Sit up. Mackenzie?
You should round to 100 because if you make 80, 4 people will fit cupcakes and it's right.
So for this problem, it makes more sense. If you don't have a sentence, write one or you can copy the one that we're writing together. It makes more sense to round to the nearest 100, pretty much, so we have extras, right? It makes more sense to round to the nearest 100, so we have extras. I'll give you some seconds for those who need to write a sentence. If you have one version of that, you don't have to copy it, but you should have something along those lines. Part 2 says, Miss Miller's helping a friend grade papers. She wants to help by rounding the student's grades to make it easier to work with. One student got a 45 on a quiz. Round that student's grade to the nearest 10 and 100 and decide which type of rounding makes sense. All right, I know some of you are still working on this problem. I'm going to give you about 5 more minutes to work with your partner if you're still working. If you're done working, you're in those yellow cards in your notebooks. Go ahead and start wherever you are. One, two, three. Eyes on me.
1, 2, eyes on you.
Paper, whiteboard, pencils. Write me on the carpet. All right, so our second question says that Miss Miller's helping a friend grade papers. She wants to help by rounding students' grade to make it easier to work with. One student got a 45 on a quiz. Round that student's grade to the nearest 10 and 100. Decide what type of rounding makes sense. You should have had 2 number lines, yes?
Yes.
Perfect. Let's start with the nearest 10. What are going to be my endpoints for the nearest 10? I should see like everybody's hands since most of you were done anyway. Macklin? 40 and 50. What's my midpoint, Rylan?
Your midpoint is 45.
45. Uh-oh. That's what I got. So what do I do? Because it's exactly in the middle. Evelyn, what do I do? I'm going to do what? Fine. Yeah, it's just the rule. It's exactly stuck in the middle, so when we have something exactly stuck in the middle, we go up to 50. So 45 is about 50. You should have that written somewhere on your paper, Zach. Yes?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about our endpoints rounding to the nearest 100. What are going to be our endpoints when we're rounding to the nearest 100? Carl?
0 to 100.
0 to 100. What's my midpoint? Bryson? 50. Where does 45 go? Where does 45 go? Heidi?
About like a little bit in front of 50.
Okay, so a little bit before 50. All right, so that means we are rounding to Buckley? 0. So now I have 45 is about 0. Now I need to decide which one makes sense. Which one makes sense? I've got 45 rounded to 50 or 45 rounded to 0. Which one makes sense? Think about what's happening in the problem. Jalen, what do you think?
I think the 10 makes sense because if you chose the hundreds, he would just got a 0.
Okay, so why is rounding to the 10 better than that?
Because you at least you have a value because 0 doesn't have any value.
Well, 0 does have value. It's the value of nothing. Rylan, you want to add on to that?
10 is you should do 10 because if you did the 100 you would get a 0 instead of 50 because whenever you do the hundreds it's not exactly in the middle and it's closer to the first line from the midway point but on the tens it is in the middle, and whenever it's in the middle, you go to the end point.
Which one's closer to their actual grade? Ariana? 50. If I am grading something, or I'm telling you about your grade, do I want to put something that's close to what you got, or something that's not close to what you got?
Close.
Whoa. So for this one, yeah, go ahead, Zach.
I would be better. It's closer to the 45 to 50 because it's not far from the grade you got.
Yeah, it's not far. So when I round to the nearest 10, it makes sense to round to the nearest 10 because it's close to the actual grade. It's close to the actual grade. Colby?
Can I go to back and I wrote it would make sense to round to the nearest 10 because otherwise the child will get 0.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, Jayla?
Why do you write the starting letters in cursive, then just do the other ones in normal?
Have it. All right, so let's revisit our original question. When would it make sense to round to the nearest 10 versus the nearest 100? Any ideas? Evelyn, what are you thinking?
Well, it makes sense to round to the nearest 10 when you kind of want to be more exact.
Yeah, are you listening to this genius right now? Evelyn, say it one more time. Listen up.
It makes sense to round to the nearest 10 when you want to be more exact.
It makes sense to round to the nearest 10 when you want to be closer to that exact number. Right? 45 was way closer to 50 than 0. When would you round to the nearest 100? When would you round to the nearest 100, Kinsey? There's no reason to do that. Ariana, what are your thoughts?
You have to do 100 is when it's like in like the hundreds or 200.
No. Just because something's in the hundreds or 200 doesn't mean no. No. Rylan?
The only time when you would round with the 100 is only if it is a 3-digit number.
No, not true. 3-digit numbers you can round to the nearest 10. Gio, do you know? Okay, that's a problem. Evelyn, that rounding to the nearest 10 gives us a closer answer. When would we round to the nearest 100? Evelyn?
I think you round to the nearest 100 when you are trying to like quick jot it down or something.
Yeah. We're just kind of ballparking. There's no real reason either way. So if we're using the nearest 100, we don't need a close to answer. We can just kind of say, ish. If we're rounding to the nearest 10, we need something much closer. Does that make sense? We're going to talk about this. You see this on those yellow cards. I've already had people ask me about it on those yellow cards that are in your notebook.